At 33,000 feet, this plane was cruising smoothly, until the unthinkable happened. Without warning, a massive explosion tore through the aircraft, sending it into a freefall. The plane plummeted, twisting and spiraling toward the Earth. Amid the chaos, only one person walked away from the wreckage. But how is that possible? What made this survivor different from the others? Was it luck or something far more extraordinary? Stick around to discover the unbelievable story behind this miracle. On January 26, 1972, Vesna Vulović was a young flight attendant working for Jati Airways, a Yugoslav airline.
Я обрадовалась, мне было 22 года, и любое новое место было для меня интересным.
She was aboard Flight 367, which was scheduled to travel from Stockholm, Sweden, to Belgrade, Yugoslavia. It was supposed to be a normal flight, just another day on the job, but no one could have predicted what would happen next. The plane, a McDonnell Douglas DC-9, was cruising at 33,000 feet. The passengers were relaxing, the crew was doing their routine duties, and everything seemed calm. But suddenly, disaster struck without warning. A bomb had been planted in the plane's luggage compartment. Without any time to react, the bomb exploded, tearing the aircraft apart mid-flight. The explosion was so powerful that the plane was sent into a deadly spiral, falling rapidly toward the ground. The passengers and most of the crew were ejected from the plane as the fuselage was torn apart. In this chaos, it seemed that everyone on board had no chance of survival. As the bomb detonated, it caused a massive explosion that ripped the plane apart. The aircraft broke into pieces and plummeted to the ground. In what seemed like an instant, everything turned into pure chaos. The people on board, including Vesna, were thrown around inside the plane as it spiraled downward. The plane continued its terrifying descent, and Vesna, who was in the back of the plane, was trapped. She was pinned by a food cart, which kept her from being ejected from the aircraft as it fell. She remained in the wreckage as the plane continued to fall, a drop of more than 10,000 meters, 33,000 feet. And then, after what seemed like an eternity, the wreckage of the plane crashed into a snow-covered forest. The impact was intense, but miraculously, Vesna survived. Against all logic, against all the odds, she was alive. How could anyone survive a fall like that? What could possibly explain this miracle? Vesna was found in critical condition. Her body was battered, she had a fractured skull, broken vertebrae, and suffered from temporary paralysis. It seemed impossible that she had survived. She was immediately rushed to a hospital where doctors feared that she might never recover, let alone walk again. Despite the grave injuries, Vesna fought through the odds. She underwent several surgeries and extensive physical therapy. Slowly but surely, she began to heal, and incredibly, after months of rehabilitation, she regained the ability to walk. It was nothing short of a miracle. But even with all the medical treatment, the question remained. How had she survived such an impossible fall? Experts couldn't believe it. The wreckage had broken her fall somewhat, and the snow and trees had cushioned the impact. But no one could truly explain how a woman survived a 33,000-foot drop when everyone else didn't. Vesna's survival left experts baffled. It was considered the most remarkable aviation accident survival in history. How could a flight attendant survive a fall from 33,000 feet? Well, no one could pinpoint a single reason. There were multiple factors that played a role in saving her life. First, the way she was trapped by the food cart during the crash likely helped. It kept her in place during the fall, preventing her from being ejected from the plane. The impact, while catastrophic, didn't tear her apart completely. The food cart, the plane's broken fuselage, and even the snow and trees on the ground provided some cushion during the crash. These elements, when combined, created an unlikely series of events that allowed her to survive. Vesna's injuries were severe, but she never gave up. The fact that she was alive was something nobody expected. Doctors were amazed at how she responded to treatment, and her recovery became a source of inspiration worldwide. But the big question remained, could it be luck? Vesna Vulović's survival made headlines worldwide. She was recognized as the person who fell the highest without a parachute and survived. The Guinness World Records officially acknowledged her as the woman who survived the highest fall ever recorded. However, her story wasn't just about surviving. It was about the will to live and the strength of the human spirit. Despite the trauma and physical pain, Vesna remained positive and determined. She used her story to encourage others, showing the world that even in the face of certain death, survival was still possible with hope, resilience, and determination. Her story also earned her the title of the woman who fell from the sky, and became a symbol of courage and survival against all odds. She even went on to become an advocate for air travel safety, speaking to audiences around the world about the importance of being prepared for emergencies. Despite the fame and recognition, Vesna's life after the crash was not without challenges. While she did regain the ability to walk, she faced constant physical pain and emotional trauma from the incident. The physical scars she carried served as a reminder of the horror she went through. But Vesna didn't let this stop her. She went on to live a full life, participating in public events, becoming an advocate for aviation safety, and even making occasional appearances in media. She never let the crash define her. Instead, she chose to use her survival to inspire others. Although she did struggle with the emotional scars from the crash, Vesna Vulović lived a life that many thought was impossible after such a devastating accident. She defied the odds in every sense, and her survival remains one of the most remarkable stories in the history of aviation.
Так получилось, что вместо моей коллеги Весны Николич записали меня, Весну Вулович, по ошибке. Мне вдруг сказали, что меня снимают с рейса, на котором я должна была работать, и отправили в Копенгаген.
Vesna's story continues to inspire worldwide, showing the power of human resilience. Her survival sparked discussions on aviation safety and became a case study in extreme survival. Her story remains a symbol of hope for those facing tough challenges, proving that survival is possible even against all odds. Vesna Vulovic's survival defied all logic. She fell 33,000 feet and lived to tell the tale. But was it just luck? Or was there something about her positioning that helped her survive? What's your take on this miraculous survival? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more unbelievable stories.